Have you ever heard of Ouroboros? Ouroboros is a cycle of repeated destruction. A snake eating his own tail leading to his own demise.
So, when watching a Tubi series, you have to have something in the back of your mind. You gotta keep it in the back of your mind, and that is most time, Tubi series are on a low budget. That is the nature of things. It's not going to be a high production value. You got to have that in there off top. Usually they're going to be based off of something that's already been produced on a bigger scale, and this is just somebody else's story. So Backstreet is no different. This has shades of The Wire, In Too Deep, Snowfall, all those types of things on there. So those are kind of like the big budget things that already exist, but this is a different setting and someone else's tale, but it's in the spirit of those types of existing big budget productions. Now, this particular series actually is going to go ahead and actually be part of my Arnell Hill series. Why do I say that? Because this series begs to ask the question,
did you miss me?
That's right. Did you miss it? Because some series are missed because they're not heavily marketed. Some because they're not on major streaming platforms. Others because they're just not that good. So I go ahead and actually review these types of series so that you can go ahead and actually see if it's worth your time. Now, these types of stories that are like street life, drugs, cartel, gangs, things like that, not usually my thing. So I'm gonna go and actually take the perspective of a casual viewer. I'm gonna try and give also some perspective of main target audience as well. And see, I go and actually feel like, look, you need to go and actually know what perspective your viewer is coming from, so you can kind of put that in your decision making as well of, is this gonna be worth my time or not? Because for me, I watched the first 2 episodes of new content on streaming services to see if they're worth your time. I watched so you don't have to. If you like how that sounds, do me a favor, click like, share, subscribe. And now, let me get to this review for you. So, Backstreet premiered in March of 2023 on Tubi. It contains 4 episodes, each about 30 minutes. It stars Tukuve Jackson, Jacob Richardson, and Monica Hobby. Now, this is a series about Quentin Jacobs, played by Tukuve Jackson. We'll go with that. And he is about street life. That is what he does, okay? Violence, drugs, money, power, and loyalty are things that kind of run his life. That's what his life is centered around. However, his mother was killed largely because of the life that he leads. Now he's looking to exact revenge, but also looking for a better life. But between rival gangs, the police, and the feds, it's way more complicated than he anticipated of him trying to get out the life. So let me go ahead and actually just do a rundown of the Tubi checklist of my usual categories. Acting was average to bad. Depends on which scene it is, what actors, but at its best it's average. At worst, it's bad. No one that stands out is particularly good. Usually I can find like 1 or 2. This one, it was just everybody's at their best. It was like, okay. There was some stilted movement, people stepping on lines. There's just not much that stands out, especially for a casual viewer. People that really like the project, or you like the setting, or maybe you're someone that's actually watched these actors and other things, or what have you, maybe you'll feel differently. But for a casual viewer, not a lot to place on the acting aspect of things. The story in this one is confusing. While you sort of figure out some stuff along the way, the series is kind of horrible at telling the story that they want you to know. They do a lot of scene jumping, there's random flashbacks, and then there's a bunch of exposition to try and tell you what they didn't effectively show you. And the story isn't clear. They're trying to get you from point C, from point A, and maybe they'll show you point B at some point in time. You just have to kind of watch really carefully and remember names that you kind of barely got introduced to as they are, in order for you to fill in the gaps. I feel like there was a lot of rushing to get this series made, and whether it was due to money, scheduling, whatever, it feels like they had to move through this shooting schedule and it showed in the storytelling. This would be a rough watch for a casual viewer to kind of sift through. A main target audience might like the chaos and the pacing of the story, though, to be honest with you, because it does move. Some of the things that I think that this series did do right, outside of one scene, the rest of the episodes I saw actually had good shot locations and setups. The outside scenes were believable, and the indoor ones looked like what they were supposed to be, doctor's office, studio, etc. So there was effort done there. And the reason why I bring that up is because if you've watched some of these Tubi movies, sometimes the scenes that they have stuff set up in doesn't make any sense. Like you're dressing up a hotel room to look like drug kingpins thing, or you're going into like someone's like home office and making it look like a police station or something like that. But here they actually did a very good job of locating things, doing it in a correct way where it's believable that we're in that scene, or if they're doing exterior shots, that was actually done pretty well. I'll give them credit for that. Also, I believe that most of this cast is connected to this life in some kind of way, meaning like they've been of the street life, gang life, or drug life, cartels, whatever. Either they or someone that they're close to knows about it, because they seem to, it appears to me that they actually have passion for the story that's being told. And I think that's actually very important for people to be able to go ahead and actually work on a project. I feel like these folks really want to do this versus kind of like being forced into it. There's some that I review where you just kind of feel like the actors are just trying to collect a paycheck, whereas this one, I think that the people actually cared about what story is being told here, because it makes it feel more authentic. But I'm gonna tell you what, I also need Tubi to, with their low budget shoots, to do better camera and sound work. There's way too much equipment for budget pricing for these to not be good categories. So, you know, what I mean by that is that you can get good sound and audio equipment and cameras at decent prices where it's not going to be super expensive, and for somebody to be stabilized, to have the camera where it's not looking like, you know, we're on a roller coaster, or that you capture you could do lapel pins for audio so that people can hear you and things like that, like, or boom mics if you need it over there. Like, there's just ways to go ahead and actually get stuff done correctly, and they constantly skimp on that aspect of it, and it can get frustrating on these types of productions. Another thing that kind of still bugs me on this is the basic stuff that they do for like police and authority figures on there, like stop taping like either letters to people, like basic clothing, or getting like just a t-shirt that says police on it. Like, no one, a police department is not wearing that, you know. Just put the fake badges on, let people wear that and be good with it. If you're trying to convey it to an officer or whatever, put on something that looks like a security officer's uniform, and then you just kind of shoot it in a way where I can't tell that that's not a police officer's uniform, so I'll believe it, you know. But the costuming needs to be better. But really, the main issue I always have with Tubi projects are the sound and camera work. They be killing me, okay? But let me get into these verdicts. If you are a main target audience, go ahead and actually watch one episode. The biggest reason I'm giving for watching an episode is that I firmly believe that the people that shot this series are about this life, and they have a story to tell, and they like it, and they put good work into it. And so if you like gangster and drug stories, I think you can get 30 minutes of your life to see if you vibe with the story that's being told here. For casual audiences, I'm gonna say this is a skip it. Now, I may value the time and effort that these folks put in to make this story, but I also value your time as a viewer. And I can't say that this is a good production to watch even one episode for casual viewers. Now, if you want something that's a budget like this, but it's entertaining, watch something like Shot Us. Because that'll definitely give you like WTF vibes on there, and at least you get a whole lot of action with that, and you get some decent acting with that. But again, for main target audiences, watch one episode. For casuals, it's a skip it. And that's what I have for Backstreet on Tubi. Check it out.
Hey, has anybody seen Gunner?
Trusted you. You betrayed me. Where do we go from here?
I appreciate you staying for the entire time. I do. Do me a favor. If you like this video, click like, share, subscribe. Also, if you'd be so kind to go and actually watch one of the other videos that YouTube seems to think that you might like of mine. But until the next time, I'll holler at you. Take care of yourself.